And here we go. Welcome to episode 18, season 2 of the Huddle, our 44th episode overall. I'm Ed Tate, your host from BlueBombers.com. We're coming to you live from the Princess Auto Stadium in our fancy schmancy studio at Princess Auto Stadium. We've got a special edition of the Huddle this week. We're going to dive into the CFL rule changes, which were announced yesterday. We're very pleased to be joined by Pat Neufeld of your Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a guy that's been in this league since 2011, a three-time CFL All-Star. Excuse me. We thought it'd be a good guy to bring in to chop up all the rule changes. Obviously, it's a hot topic in this league right now, so we're going to dedicate this whole episode basically to that topic because, it's what everybody in this league is talking about right now. These changes won't come into play until 26 and 27 seasons, so it doesn't impact things right now. Patty's been in this league since 2011, played in 182 regular season games, was part of the CFL's mentorship program in 2023, which meant he got a chance to kind of get a look behind the curtain at the CFL level. So again, that's what makes him the perfect guest for us to chop this up. Got to do the store promo right away. We've got our orange shirt game on Saturday against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. This is for sale in the Bomber store now. Pretty cool hat with the star blanket logo on the W that they will wear on the helmets on Saturday, and as well, pretty cool sweatshirt too with that same logo on it. So these are available in the store. This is the store special for this week, leading into the orange shirt game on Saturday.
Limited quantities, so make sure you get those
limited
nice and early, either throughout the week or on game day.
There you go. Okay, so we're going to do the Coors Light Chill Chat like we normally do, but it's going to be all about the rules, so we won't be asking the goofy questions that I normally do. But here's the intro. Welcome to the Coors Light Chill Chat, a chance to kick back and get to know the Blue Bombers players a little better. Proudly brought to you by Coors Light, the official beer and chill choice of the Blue Bombers.
There's regular cold, and then there's the mountains are blue cold. Mountain cold refreshment. Coors Light, the chill choice.
Again, special edition of this show, all about the rules. So instead of the usual chill chat questions, we're just going to focus on the rules. Yesterday, CFL Commissioner Stuart Johnson, who's been on the job for about 200 days or something, held a press conference in Toronto at which he outlined significant rule changes, some that will go into effect next year and some in 2027. And this is a quote from Stuart Johnson, the commissioner. "This is all about making our great game even more entertaining. We are trading field goals for touchdowns while improving fan experience in stadiums and at home. These changes, These changes are the most significant in decades. We are retaining the unique elements upon which our traditions stand, but innovating where change is needed to evolve our world-class game." So the league also put together this really cool video, I think, that outlines the reasoning behind the changes and what they're going to look like. And we thought we'd play that right now, and Josh is going to cue that up for us.
Yep, just give me 1 second here.
For generations, the Canadian Football League has thrilled fans with its speed, skill, and pace of play. It is a game built on tradition, yet never afraid to evolve. Now, the CFL is taking the next step in its evolution, a series of bold strategic changes designed to elevate the action, enhance the viewer experience, and position the league for the future. These updates will create more highlight-worthy plays, improve sightlines, and deliver more entertainment. Change 1, goalposts and field size. The goalposts will shift from the front of the end zones near the goal line to the back of the end zones. Repositioning the goalposts removes an obstruction for the players and for the in-stadium and broadcast viewers. This change allows quarterbacks to use the entire end zone to their advantage. Historically, the placement of the goalposts has largely removed the middle of the end zone for quarterbacks. By shifting the goalposts, offenses will have the entire end zone to work with unobstructed. This will also remove the goalpost as an obstacle for teams operating deep in their own territory, or for defensive players covering receivers in the end zone. With the goalposts shifting to the back of the end zones themselves will be shortened from 20 yards to 15 yards. This will help mitigate the impact on field goal kicking, while still delivering a larger end zone than other forms of football. In addition to the reduced size of the end zones, the field will be condensed to 100 yards. This means that offenses will be starting drives 10 yards closer to their opponent's end zone and only 5 yards further from a field goal, despite the shifted goalposts. Team decision-making on third down is heavily influenced by field position. Typically, third down decisions are mostly scrutinized between midfield and the opposing 40-yard line. By reducing the overall field length to 100 yards and pushing the goalposts to the back of the end zone, this decision zone expands, encouraging more aggressive third down attempts as teams push for touchdowns, creating higher stakes plays that add decisive, entertaining moments to the game. Change 2. Rouge Rule redefined. The Rouge Rule gets a modern twist. Now, a single point is only awarded if the return team is tackled in the end zone or concedes voluntarily. No more points for missed kicks or punts, or kickoffs that sail or bounce out of the end zone. This eliminates a reward for failure, removing the risk of a game being won by a missed attempt. Kickers may also be encouraged to keep the ball in play more, forcing returns and creating opportunities for cover teams to trap opponents in their end zone. Offenses lose the safety net of guaranteed points on deep kicks, shifting decision-making towards more aggressive third down attempts and precision kicking. Special teams coordinators gain an expanded tactical role as directional kicking, coverage schemes, and situational rouges become more meaningful parts of the game. Change 3, play clock reset. We're introducing an automatic play clock reset, keeping the urgency up, the tempo fast, the action flowing, and the game flow consistent. Previously, each play required the official to reset the field for the next play and blow in the start of a 20-second play clock. The reliance on the official to initiate the play clock led to variability play by play and game to game. By moving to a 35-second play clock that resets automatically after each play, the CFL's unique pace will be maintained with consistency across games. Change 4, opposite sidelines. Teams will now occupy opposite sidelines in every stadium. This consistency improves visual presentation, reduces congestion, and streamlines player substitutions, as players will be closer to the play, regardless of where the spot of the ball is. It's a small shift with a big impact on game flow and presentation. These upgrades are designed to both honor tradition and embrace innovation. More touchdowns, cleaner visuals, smarter rules, a more entertaining game for everyone.
Welcome to the new era of the Canadian Football League.
We're back. We're back. Okay. So that was a kind of a well done video, I thought, to explain the rules. So we'll get Patty now. Let's just break this down because, again, it's kind of a lot to digest. There's a lot of change. A lot of people like me who've been around the league for a long time, yourself too, you get used to things, right? And so change is kind of foreign or it's not easy to digest sometimes. So let's talk about the first phase, which is the stuff that's going to change for next year. The biggest one is the modified rouge, in my opinion. And so that means that if a punt is not fielded in the end zone, then it's not a single anymore. Yep. If it goes through the end zone or through the sides, it's not a single. And then same with a missed field goal.
Yep.
Thoughts on that, Patty?
I think I'm in favor of it based on the fact that I think it's now forcing teams to actually have to score a field goal or get the ball in the end zone, passing or running for points. I mean, you still can get a rouge. It's if the ball's kicked into the end zone, it lands in the end zone, it's not returned out. That's going to be a rouge. So the rouge is still there, but I think when people see, especially people who are new to the league and the league is trying to attract new fans constantly, when they see a missed kick go through the end zone, there's still a point awarded. They're like, well, why are they getting a point for missing a kick? So I agree on that. I also think too, where, it's there's been times I was on a team in 2011 where we punted the ball through end zone for a Rouge to get a win, and it's, again, people are like, well, technically, I guess, yeah, that's a way to win a game, but like it's kind of chintzy. I don't know, like you're not, it's whatever. It's a punt through the end zone for a win. So, I'm glad that the Rouge is still there. It still exists. But I think ultimately you have to make your kicks, and you have to tackle the guy in the end zone.
There's a couple things about that. So I think in the late 30s, 1939, maybe the Bombers won a Grey Cup on a punt single.
Oh, really?
But the game's changed. That's 1939, right?
They probably threw the ball 7 times.
Right. So the game's changed dramatically. And I just would, so the Grey Cups here in however many days, it would bother the crap out of me if it was decided on a missed field goal at the end. I just, so I can understand that. At the same time, on Saturday, the two of the biggest plays in that game were Trey Vavel returning one missed field goal for a touchdown and then almost taking the other two. He had 199 yards in missed field goal returns, which is a CFL record, and the 128 was a Bomber record. So, and that was a game-changing moment. We're not going to get that anymore unless the kicks is short and fielded.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The kicking game has been dramatically changed for sure. And you see like what Sean White was talking about on Twitter, where he's saying what he's saying, but it's hard not to feel like that if you're a kicker. Sergio yesterday when I was talking to him, he's like, "Oh, well, you just got to get me closer." But it does greatly affect the kicking game, which is a massive part of the CFL. It's a huge phase that's, at least our team, we spend a ton of time on, and it's a massive part of the CFL. And people love the fact that you can return kicks in this game, and there's the ability to score on missed kicks. And we talk about it all the time on field goals, where if there's a missed field goal, it's such a mismatch because of the offensive line and the bigger guys blocking up front that they can't cover. So we might start missing out on plays like Trey had. So that's going to be something I think that the league is going to have to look at and see how it goes after this phase is done. And if they're missing that exciting part of the kicking game, it's something to consider. And I think too, one more point on that, it might change the economics of roster building a little bit too, where, if the kicking game is dramatically altered, it might send some things into motion with how contracts are done.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting too, because I think there's been 3 missed field goal returns for a touchdown this year in the league. There was 1 last year. So it's not like it happens a lot, but there's been some where it's an exciting play still. The guy doesn't score, but it's an exciting play because he's taking it up.
Absolutely. And it's a huge phase of the game. Like it's, with 3-down football, kicking has always been in 3-down football a massive part of the game. And now that it's not, like I think they said in the video, it's going to force coaches to consider 3rd down more. Well, coaches just might punt more, and that's something where now there's definitely no points at all, or a dramatic play like that. Like they're going to punt more, and they're talking about, there's not going to be, like they'll find a way to make sure that like you can't return it, or the punts will be difficult to field, and there might not be a return on that. So that's going to dramatically change kicking too. Yeah,
one of the things they mentioned in that video was the decision zone that they talked about. I don't think that automatic, to your point, it automatically leads to more aggressive play calling.
No, I agree.
It might be, hey, the weather conditions, the wind conditions, let's put them inside the 5, inside the 10.
Yeah.
That's not gambling on 3rd down, obviously. That's the opposite.
And that's the conservative way. It's a little more thoughtful. Right. But, to your point, too, and then it's the smart thing to do for the football situation, but it's not a scoring play. So now the other team is getting pinned on the 5, and like the rate of touchdowns scored when you start within your own 20 is like in like the single-digit percentages. Like it is not ideal. So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so we're going to give fans a chance to weigh in on this stuff too as we go along on the show, but we're just going to kind of rattle our way through this point by point.
I'm just going to say there's lots of good discussion and comments and stuff happening in the chat.
Okay.
Not quite about the Rouge yet. They're talking about a bunch of different stuff, but as it comes up that you guys are talking, I might jump in and throw you guys a talking point or a fan question or something like that. There's lots of good discussion happening right now.
Okay, that's the whole point of why we changed the format a bit today, was to get some fan involvement, because again, it's a talker. So this one seems like a slam dunk, the having the benches on the opposite side. I never understood that. You go to Toronto, Ottawa, Hamilton,
Montreal
too. Both benches are on the same
BC now.
side. Yeah, and it's just bizarre to me.
Yeah.
That has to be a consistency. We really don't need to spend a whole lot of time talking about that one, right?
I think the one thing that we will miss out on is the Ryan Dinwiddie high kicks across the bench. We'll miss out on things like that. But
yeah, that happened a couple weeks ago.
yeah, which I think was hilarious. I mean, I actually played with Dinner for 1 year. His last year was my rookie year, and he's a fiery dude, so it's no surprise. But yeah, as a player, it's a no-brainer. It makes total sense. It's just even for things like substituting. There's no chance of like fights on the sideline. I think that's all gone. It just makes sense. It happens like everywhere.
Okay, so one of the things. Oh, we got a question.
Question from my box. I have to comment. This is the only thing I can comment on, not football related. The opposite sideline thing. For us that work in the creative team with video, photo, that kind of stuff, having to walk all the way around the other team's bench to get to the end zone when the play is moving up and down the field is a nightmare.
Yeah.
The opposite sideline, it's a win for the creative team.
Okay, well there you go.
I know that's very important to everyone watching. So that's a win for us.
Are you trying to stir things up on the same sideline? Is that what you're saying? Like you're getting in fights?
Yes.
Yes, I figured so.
Anyways,
Okay.
off the soapbox, back to the show.
Very well done, Josh. Okay, the one thing that I don't know has been properly explained is the 35-second play clock, which is going from the 20-second play clock. And automatically people think, well, that's more time. The way I've had it explained to me, and you can do a better job on this, Patty, than me, is it might mean more plays.
Yeah.
Maybe explain how it works now and what the change looks like to you.
Yeah, so when a play's done, the refs are spotting the ball and the sticks are moving, but then the refs are also looking for substitutions. So offense gets the chance to substitute first, and within that time frame too, defense can substitute really quickly. But if offense gets on the ball and the defense is subbing, well, then they're at the risk of too many men or not enough or whatever. But generally refs let teams substitute, and then they're yelling, okay, we're going, and then the ball's set, everyone's kind of lined up, and then they blow it in. So it's an arbitrary amount of time between plays, but once that play is blown in, then the 20-second clock goes. And the play time clock doesn't matter, but the game clock matters. You have to beat that for end-of-game situations, stuff like that. So I think what it'll do, once it's like a dead ball play clock now, or game clock. So once that play is done, that 35-second clock is rolling, the ball is spotted, and we got to get substituted in if there's substitutions or the play call in quickly lined up, all within 35 seconds. So in that regard, it's kind of like American football. I think it's going to force teams to be extremely dialed in on substitutions and personnel packages. Some teams like to roll through a lot of personnel packages based on situation, down distance, field position, all that type of thing. But I also think it's going to force teams to operate quickly, and they're going to have to get rolling. They're going to have to get the play called, and we're going to get more plays offensively. So it might look quicker. I think for me, it's going to be interesting how that happens in the last 3 minutes.
Right. That's the thing that nobody up here wants to see is a transformation to the NFL game where inside the 2-minute warning, teams don't even have to hardly snap the ball and they're just kneeling down and talking to each other. That's supposed to be the most valuable, most entertaining part of the game.
Yeah.
And if the guys are just, shaking hands already while the clock ticks off, it drives me crazy.
Like last night, there was I think the Detroit Lions got a first down with $1:50 left, and then the game was over with 1:30 left. And in the CFL, you can get like at least 2 possessions offensively in a minute and a half. You know, we scored 14 points in a minute 10 against Montreal in 2016. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of stuff that as a player, and especially as a fan, as someone who I've loved this league since I was a kid, it's exciting at the end of the game. The end of the game matters, and like you said, that is sometimes the most critical part of the game. So I hope that's not going to be affected. Yeah.
I'll say that one of the things I've seen the most change of in the league since I started covering it is what you pointed out about the personnel changes. It used to be back in the day, and I hate to be the old guy, but teams put their best 12 out on the field, and you went with that group. And if it's second and long, there weren't a bunch of people running on the field. That's your second and long defensive package. And you just, there was less of that stuff happening. And I think that's going to your point, impact things. And also, maybe you have to make a decision quicker on 3rd and 2. What are we doing here? the clock's rolling here.
rolling.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really interesting thing. But to your point, I think that like a lot of these rules, we need to see what happens first before we say it's not black and white here.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the inside the final 3 minutes is going to look different. It doesn't necessarily mean that moving the goalposts is going to mean more touchdowns. We don't know yet. So,
Yeah.
right?
And for me, like speaking purely offensively, you're talking about substitutions and personnel packages. Like, I don't think it's a secret, but we run a lot of personnel packages offensively and defensively. But the one thing that I truly like about football in the South that I wish we had up here is play clock time. Like the 20 seconds, I understand is great. It's the way we do things. But as an offensive player, purely, I like in the States that they can kill plays. So they can call 2 plays on Huddle, sometimes 3 plays on Huddle, and I call it if-then football. So if this happens, then we're going to do this. And usually they're always going to be right. So, maybe there's a chance where if we're not subbing a lot, we can do more of that offensively, where we can call 2 plays, 3 plays, and based on the defense or double cadence, we can see what the defense is doing and be in a way better play. So
Yeah.
I thought about that with a longer play clock, but like you said, we'll see. It's not black and white, and time will tell based on how it's spotted and how fast it goes.
Yeah, I like how you're thinking there. Again, we got to see how this unfolds before we can come to any concrete conclusions. The second part for 2027 is interesting too. I think the changes for next year are more subtle, and then for 2027, that's
big
when
ones.
Yeah, that's the goalpost at the back of the end zone.
Big ones, yeah.
Do we want to do the Duran spot? Or
Yeah, put that in. Sorry, I'm
No,
sorry.
it's all
I
good.
jumped ahead on our
You guys are
script.
really jacked up, really excited to get in there. I'm all about it. But we want to make sure we get the Duran commercial in.
We could take a couple more questions
too.
too.
Giveaway.
And questions.
That was a lot. You guys covered a lot of ground there. That was
Okay.
awesome. We got a lot to get through still.
Yeah.
So before we get there, let's do there's lots of great discussion
Okay.
going on in the chat as well. Lots of good comments. We'll get to a couple of those in a second. But the first, as always, is our Duran commercial. Duran Equipment, they sponsor the jersey giveaway every single week. So we're giving away a Pat Neufeld jersey. You have to be able
They got those? Wow, nice.
They do have those actually in stock and ready for you. And you can win one today. We have to be able to come pick it up at the Bomber store. But before we get there, the link will be in the chat momentarily for you to sign up with your email address and a bonus entry for subscribing to the YouTube channel. But before that, a quick word from our sponsor.
Before the noise, before the lights, the work's already begun. You don't show up halfway. You gear up. You check your work. You take pride in every moment, every step, every snap. Here, trust isn't talked about. It's earned, day after day. We are built the same way. With trust, loyalty, and hard work. Duran Equipment, we are more than construction. We are part of the team.
Okay, and we're back from the commercial again. Thanks to Duran Equipment for sponsoring our jersey giveaway. And with that, while those entries are rolling in just a second here is a link to this week's jersey giveaway. With that, let's get a question or two, or not so much a question. There's a lot of discussion going on, so maybe I'll just pull out a comment here. Something like. There's so much to go through here. Just give me 1 second. Oh yeah, so this is a good point. There was some discussion about this on X and the internet and stuff. What do you guys think about the implications of the rule changes on youth football and U Sport football? Because there's been a lot of talk about who's going to pay for this, or how can they afford this, or are they going to make the changes? So maybe just your guys' thoughts on how these changes are going to affect football at the lower level in Canada.
Well, one point I'll make, and then I'll let Patty riff on this. Mike Miller just spoke really passionately about this, the Bombers special team coach, and how teams, amateur teams, have to spend a lot of time fundraising, and then so they design the field in a certain way, and now this change has happened. So, and the one thing I'll point out about Princess Auto Stadium is that I talked to Wade Miller about this yesterday. As it impacts the Bisons, it's not a difficult thing to move the posts back and forth or to change the lines on the field because we do it all the time for the soccer team. I'll just weigh in with those facts, and I'll let you talk about the other impact, Patty.
Yeah. Like, I think it's interesting for us. Like, I talked about our field specifically and Calgary's field at for the Stamps because we paint our lines, so it's easier for us. And you can move the field goal posts pretty easily. But then there's other fields like Mosaic or Montreal where there's lines for soccer, there's lines for other things, and there's the hashes are there, and they're like sewed into the field. So amateur football across the country is going to have to, I don't know, find a way to, unless they just stick with the way it is now, and I wish the CFL was, the forefront of football in this country where it's a trickle down effect, but this is going to make it tough for amateur football in this country. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I've always felt like U Sport football specifically should try to model as much of the CFL as possible.
Absolutely.
Because it's the biggest the biggest pool of talent going into the CFL is from U Sport, and the passion is there. So I've always wished that there was more connection between whether it's U Sport or the universities or athletic departments, whatever those bodies are that control the infrastructure and the rules, work more closely with the CFL so there can be more cohesion and there's more discussion. Like if the CFL is talking about changing these rules, well, obviously after this is all released, then they go to U Sports and be like, hey, like this is the plan. Because some of those fields too are where the college teams play, like McGill, Mosaic, Calgary, at McMahon. So it's going to be tough for sure. And I think the worst part is like high school and kids football, like young football, where they're going to see all the changes on TV and they're going to wonder why they're not doing the same things. And that's the grassroots is going to be, I think, more dramatically affected.
I think you're bang on it. That 100% everybody in the country that's playing tackle football should be playing on the same kind of field, the same rules. In my opinion, it always bothered me that in BC the high schools in Vancouver play American rules. It's bizarre, but it's going to lead to more change. Like the U Sports might say, we got to stick with what we have.
Yeah.
So then there'd be changing the goalposts back and forth in the places where there's a shared facility. But kids want to play the same way, right? And so if the goalposts are at the front, that's what they're used to. And then they watch a CFL game, to your point, at the back. It's a bit much.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
I mean, the CFL's not flush with money. If you're going to do this, they would love to see that there's some kind of program where some of those amateur teams would get help from the league or a sponsor or whatever to adapt their fields and to the way that the CFL is playing it.
And so many of those leagues across this country they're all volunteer run.
Absolutely,
and they're people who truly, truly care about football and development in this country. And I want the best for that because that's where football grows in this country, is from the grassroots level. And I'm from Saskatchewan, and I'm a bit biased where I think Saskatchewan youth amateur football is some of the best in the country. A lot of people in Football Sask and SMF, and now it's growing here with Football Manitoba and what the Bombers are doing with amateur football in this province. It's going to be an interesting dialogue and an interesting, I hope, cohesion with the league.
There's dialogue.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope there's a hand taken out and there's going to be a way to figure it out because like you said, and I said earlier, I just think that if you're playing tackle football, it should be as close to the professional. It should look the same, and it's the pathway to the pros.
Great answer. Great answer to the question. Before we move on, I forgot to mention the same link for everyone that already entered. You'll also be entered to win Brad Paisley tickets for the concert of Grey Cup week. So that jersey link will be live for the rest of the show. You could win a Pat Neufeld jersey that you have to come pick up in the stadium, or you could win 2 tickets to the Brad Paisley concert the Friday of Grey Cup week. So again, thanks everyone for hanging out. And also Winnipeg Sports Talk just sent their viewers over to us. So shout out to Winnipeg Sports Talk. They're awesome. Thanks for sharing your viewers with us.
Thanks, Hustler.
We're in the middle of our discussion on the rules changes, and we're just about to move on to phase 2, the changes that will be implemented in 2027. So with that, let's move on to the next portion of the show. And again, we have tons of stuff to get through. If you have questions in the chat, bring them up. I'll bring them up with the guys as we can, and let's just keep moving through phase 2 of these changes, guys.
Right on. Let's. We're going to leave space at the end too for people with more questions. So appreciate the dialogue and the people getting interacting with us here. So we talked about the changes for next year, and then the ones for 2027. We kind of hinted at this. The goalpost at the back of the end zone. That's a big one.
Yep.
Now the league is saying that it will make teams more aggressive in the score zone because the field opens up. Now, I've talked to Zach Caleros and some other people and aren't so sure about that, and that's back to our point about we got to wait and see before we see concrete evidence of whether that leads to more touchdowns. The league, in its press conference yesterday, said they estimate, their analytics say it's going to be 60 more touchdowns, which is pretty significant. So let's talk about that one, Patty.
Yeah.
Goalpost at the back. That's a tough one to get used to.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a massive one. It's such a unique part of the CFL and the Canadian game in general. You know, I'm going to think about this optimistically. I want 60 more touchdowns would be fantastic. You know, I hope at least some more touchdowns. Like I want it to work. I want the league to be better, and I want it to work out. That the goalpost there does present unique challenges offensively and defensively. I mean, we talk about now that the hashes are moved in tighter. When you start on your own goal line and if you're on the left hash and you're right tackle, you have to worry about how you're pass setting because you're going to pass it into the goalpost. Whether that's good or bad, it's the way it is, and it's just kind of a unique part of the game. And offensively, teams in the past have used the goalpost to use as a rub for defenders, where they can kind of use it as a blocker, a pick play. Yeah, and you know, they talked about the safety of players. I think I've only seen one player ever run into a goalpost in a game, and it was in college. Shout out to Paul Waldo for that. But, you know, I want to be optimistic about it. I can understand what they're talking about with the sight lines on TV and in the stands. And maybe it does open up the middle of the end zone more. Maybe it allows you to run more concepts where the ball's going into that spot and there's not the obvious obstruction of quarterbacks throwing over the goalpost or around or hitting the uprights. Yeah.
One of the things they showed yesterday was not just attacking the end zone, and we saw in the 2019 West Final where Cody Fajardo's pass hit the upright or the crossbar, and I don't know. We don't know what happened after that, but they say they had a guy open. But it also impacts the punter. If you're punting from your own end zone or the quarterback, you've got to get away from that because it could be in the way. The sightlines thing that was brought up yesterday, I found that a little odd, but I'm admittedly not in the position to talk about this because I watch the games from the press box, have for decades. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have never heard anybody say that, I wish the goalpost went there because I can't see. I mean, we're not talking about
a net.
Yes,
like
it's so that's an interesting one. But Stuart Johnson's a television guy, or he came from TSN, so he said that it was something that they talked about on TSN. So that's an interesting one. And of course, moving it to the back impacts all those things we've talked about before with the missed field goals. Because when they're at the front, the guy returning the kicks gets the answer right away, and the ball's not going out of bounds. So, okay. The 15-yard end zone change is interesting, too, because it's 20 right now, but it's only 20 in 7 of the 9 stadiums. So I don't know if this is kind of widely known. In Montreal, the corners at the back of the end zone are cut off because of the way the stadium's designed. And in BMO in Toronto, the end zones are only 18 yards because it was built for soccer. So to get it universal across the league at 15, I'm okay with that. Your thoughts?
I agree. It looks better just professionally wise, where every end zone looks the same and every field is the same, so everyone's dealing with the same end zones. For new fans and fans down south, it's going to look more professional, I think. It will change offensively, though, how you call plays and how you run your pass concepts down the field. Like the run game, it's not going to change much, but definitely passing wise, it's gonna change things. Like, you know, if you run corner routes a lot and man coverage, and now the end zone's 15 yards shorter, that corner route's changed a lot. You know, fade balls are now different down the sideline, where it's more like the back shoulder throws instead of fades where the receiver can run under it. There's more space, so that minus 5 yards offensively is going to change things. But then I talked to some DBs and they're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's not nearly the disadvantage anymore for DBs with all that space. So
I wonder if the two
defensive
things
guys.
kind of work in conjunction. If you shrink the end zone but take away the goalpost, maybe there's more attacking the middle of the field instead of those fade balls, like you said, to the back corner.
That's kind of how I thought about it in my head. I mean, I've never thrown a football in a game of football once in my life, so I have no idea if those uprights truly make a difference or if it changes how coaches and coordinators scheme score zone stuff or 2-point plays, that kind of thing. But like I said, I'm going to be optimistic and hope it does open up the end zone more.
Now, I'm just double checking. I think we've covered all the major ones. What was interesting yesterday is the BC Lions practice yesterday, and Nathan Rourke, to his credit, he got up there and he didn't sit on the fence, and he he called a lot of the changes garbage and questioned why the players and coaches, the people that really involved in the game, weren't kind of involved in this process. Your overall thoughts? What's your main takeaway from this? Because I'm kind of indifferent. I want to see more evidence before I say that works, this doesn't. But what do you think?
I'm the same way in that regard. Like, it's going to sound like we're sitting on the fence, but I think I truly am in this regard, where I want to see how it goes. Like, what if it all works out really well, and the game is better and there is more points and it brings in more fans and more revenue and all that stuff. Like, then that's awesome. That's what we want. That's what everyone wants. So that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm optimistic about that, but I also appreciate Nathan's passion and his reverence for the tradition of the league. And there's a huge part of me that has that too. I grew up a massive CFL fan, and that was the only football I ever watched up until probably middle to late high school when I started watching college or American football. But I grew up only in a CFL house, and we would go to friends' houses and watch CFL, and I remember crazy plays and the uniqueness of the league and always talking about that, and even like hilarious like CFL commercials like, oh, our balls are bigger and all that kind of stuff, and like the 110-yard field, like I'm gonna miss the 55-yard line, like it's gonna be weird to not see the 55-yard line, and it's just like it's intrinsically Canadian, and it's what makes the game ours. So those things are going to be a tough pill to swallow, and maybe it doesn't work out, maybe it does, but I'm going to be optimistic and hopeful that it's going to be better.
Yeah, there's a couple things. So I thought Mike Miller made a real good point about when I was going to games at the old stadium, there was the C at center field, and he always thought it didn't just stand for center field, it stood for Canadian. And I think, that's an important part. But the thing is, now when you go, if you make these changes, it's going to be hard to go back.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what's scaring a lot of people, I think, is that this is the first couple of steps towards a further Americanization to 4 downs and all that stuff down the road. But you and I were talking before we came on air. Look, the ratio's still in play. 3 downs, motion, yard off the ball, wide field. Those are the things to me that matter the most about the Canadian game. How about you?
Yeah, I think so too. When I think about CFL, it's an offensive-driven league. It's forward motion. It's 12 guys on the field. It's no yard. It's no fair catches. So every kick's returnable, which is huge. Those things are massive in the CFL, and I think that's the soul of the game, and that's what really draws in people. It's what keeps people. I think once those things start getting touched, then I think it would be an obvious turn into Americanization of football. But so far, it hasn't. There's still those elements of the game. Obviously, kickers are going to feel differently about it because that is also a huge part of the game is the kicking game, and that's been dramatically altered. So I can understand that from their point of view. That's a tough pill to swallow, and it could result in less points, less field goals. But there is still a lot of elements of the CFL game that's there. Yeah.
The one thing that I'm still skeptical about, and I'm optimistic at the same time, if that makes sense, is that I'm not sure what the changes do to generate more revenue, which is what this was supposed to be part of, right? This is, let's get more eyeballs on the game. More scoring means more eyeballs. More eyeballs means you have a better pitch to your potential television
Yeah.
partners or to your sponsorship. I'm not sure that this is going to mean all those things that A plus B equals C here, but we'll see. The game on Saturday in Ottawa, I love that stadium. It's along the canal. It's beautiful. It was a beautiful afternoon. The crowd was announced at just over 20,000. And I thought, man, this is a perfect day. This building should be sold out regardless of the record. So I'm not sure that moving the goalposts or shortening the field gets more people into the building. That's a bigger problem for the league. But
Yeah.
Anyway, I think you and I have chopped it up here pretty good to explain what the rules are and at least our initial thoughts. But we wanted to leave a lot of extra time here for fans to weigh in. And so let's do that, Josh, and then we'll try to riff on as many as we can here.
Okay, let's do it. So first one's first here. Again, tons of comments
Great.
from fans. A lot of great discussion going on in the comment section. Let's start here, since you were kind of just alluding to this. Someone says, one of the commissioner's reasons for shrinking the end zones was the 18-yard end zone in Toronto and the hexagonal end zone in Montreal. Why not implement a league standard of 20 yards? I guess asking why not go longer rather than go shorter. Thoughts on that?
I think they couldn't do it in
It's
Montreal.
physically
Toronto.
impossible in those two places.
Yeah, just in Montreal, they have a track around the field, and it's the university's track, so they literally just can't get a bigger field onto the track. Toronto, it's a soccer field.
Yep.
That stadium was
basically
retrofitted for
walls at the end. And
yeah. There's just no space for it, so just unfortunately, it just can't be done.
I've seen that too when back in the day when there was the American team.
I saw
in
a
the CFL.
crazy picture of an end zone.
Yes.
Where was that? Where it was like 5 yards and it kind of like
Yes,
slanted up.
That was in Memphis, I think, but the Bombers never played in Memphis. But yes, they had to try to squeeze CFL fields into American fields during those days, and everything just looked off, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then again, you get a 20-yard end zone in Canada, and you go down to play a game in Vegas, and it's 10 yards. How do you game plan? That's completely different, right? How you
Totally.
attack the red zone.
Yeah.
Okay, next question from Sam. Shout out to Sam on the other side of the wall. Should teams be given an extra timeout with the updated play clock?
Interesting.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the impact of the timing changes. I think it's going to lead to more plays and less personnel changes en masse. But I think that it would help if teams could still have some control of how especially in the final 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, I
You
agree.
just don't want those seconds to tick away.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea, especially with it being new, like super new, and not fully like seeing out on the field. That an extra timeout, if anything, is just going to help coaches at ease and in crazy situations where they're not used to the clock running like that. Yeah, I think that is a good idea.
Next question is, you kind of touched on this, but I just want to see if maybe that there's something I missed or that the folks watching missed. Why do you think the change in field size to 50 yards, and this person says, seems no other reason than to line up with the American game?
Yeah.
The rationale was that the shorter the field, there should be more points. I don't know if I can make that conclusion because, to your point, if there's more punting and you're starting at your own 5 or your 10, you still got to go all that distance to score. I think taking a little bit off isn't necessarily going to mean more scoring.
Yeah.
That's why they did it, though.
Yeah, that I think that was a hard sell for me. I think
Me too.
the 110 was the field length was the biggest one I was critical of because I saw no reason to change it. So that one, I can understand how people see that as a shift towards an American style field, and maybe to show it on TV for American fans, they have a comfort level, with an American field. Seeing it, it's like, oh well, this is just like what we watch down here. But that was like my biggest gripe was I had no idea why they would change the field size.
If you shorten the end zones 5 yards, that makes sense because it's universal. Taking 10 yards off the field was a little bit of a head scratcher to me and still is.
Okay, the next one, also a question about the play clock. So this person says, how will the timing work after the 3-minute warning? Do you think, even if the game clock stops as it does now, being able to run 35 seconds off the game clock will mean less plays and less exciting finishes. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a completely valid point, but maybe that's where the extra timeout comes into play, right? Because the defense can call the timeout too to save clock. So it would be kind of cool in a way, and then this doesn't make any sense. I'm just kind of spitballing here. If you had the 35-second or the new rule in play, and then in the 3-minute warning, you went back to the old rule. That would be kind of that's too much. But
Yeah.
that's what we love about this game.
It is, and that's I think amongst guys I've talked to on other teams and guys on our own team, that was the biggest question with the play clock is how is it going to work within or after the 3 minutes. And I truly hope that it doesn't change it where it becomes, we can just run 35 seconds and that kills that much time. Like you want action in that time, and you want teams to be playing desperate to catch up or keep a lead or see scoring and last second place. So I really hope it doesn't change that, but I guess we're going to have to see how it operates and how it works out.
Yeah.
This is something we kind of talked about yesterday off air, Ed. You had mentioned that when other major leagues make rule changes, they're tested in preseason or perhaps other leagues. What do you think of this? Sorry, I'll just read this comment. The person says, I would like to see some exhibition games under the new rules played before the implementation of the new rules. Now, that's not happening, but do you think that there would have been some sort of benefit to a trial period? Is that even possible?
Well, it would logistically, it probably would have taken a lot of work to do that for a preseason game. We will get to see some of the changes in the preseason next year, but then they're already in play. Like there's no discussion point after that. It's
just that's what it is.
It's just the way it's going to be. I know the NHL did do some trial runs through the American Hockey League or in preseason on different things before they did it. Again, I'm not afraid of change. I'm a huge baseball fan, and the pitch clock has changed the game.
Yep.
It's way better to watch a baseball game now because the pitcher can't be fiddling around with his glove and the rosin bag and the batter. Remember Nomar Garciaparra? Between every pitch would be changing his glove, like turning his it's just come on, man, throw the ball, hit the ball.
Yeah.
So that dramatically changed the game, and that's what I'm hopeful about for this. But in terms of a trial period, it's
I don't know if it's such a short preseason, and we don't have a league to really bounce those ideas off. So I think you just have to implement it and let it roll.
There's no going back on some of this.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, I will say this, that the CFL is, in my opinion, hasn't been afraid of changing things. Like, look at our overtime rules.
Right.
There was it didn't work out, but the challenge rule back in the day, but then people were just challenging on every play where there was like a PI somewhere. But the league hasn't been afraid of trying to make this game as exciting as possible. And
It's an excellent point.
yeah, I think it can be maybe the forerunner in a lot of this stuff.
I think like a lot of things, and we're talking about, you got to see how things unfold first, is that over time we're going to see how coaches react to this. That's the number one thing, is strategically how they react to it.
Yeah.
The rest of it, we're just going to have to, if you don't like that it's only 100 yards, I mean, it's still the Winnipeg Blue Bombers out there playing. And so...
And there's still so many elements of the league that are going to remain the same, and the atmosphere is going to be the same. And ultimately, I think it's still the game of football. It's not, I don't think, so different that it doesn't look like Canadian football. I still think when you watch a Canadian football game, you're going to know it's Canadian football. Even though the field is going to be smaller in 2 years and the uprights are going to be moved, I still think in the field of play, it's going to look like Canadian football through and through.
Yeah, good take.
This next question is, hey, Patty, how is it having your parents in Winnipeg now? Sometimes I get to talk to your dad.
What? Wow. My dad is a chatty Cathy. He will talk to literally anyone and everyone under the sun, but it's been awesome. They made the move from their entire lives being in Saskatchewan, and my mom had only been in Regina. My dad moved to Regina after he finished university. But yeah, they're here now, and it's been great. They're grandparents, so
That's probably a big part of it, right?
That's probably the biggest reason. They didn't give one shit about me. They moved here for their granddaughter, and it's been awesome. It's a huge help. I think, as any young parents know, having help like that is pretty important. So it's been great, and Yeah, I want to know who this person is though. Like that's so.
That's just a small reprieve from the rules chat. I thought we would inject that in there a little bit. Before we continue, we do have a few more questions. We'll get you out here soon, Patty. You've been really generous with your time. But before we continue, I just want to remind everyone to subscribe to the channel. We go live every Tuesday at 3 o'clock for the Huddle. We have guests. It's been all players this year so far. We haven't been able to get a coach yet. And sometimes Derek Taylor, the voice of the Bombers, joins us. But we do the show every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We get someone in for an hour. We chop it up. We talk football. We talk personal life. It's awesome. So subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've been enjoying the show and you want to see more like this. And then we also have the Handled Internally podcast about bi-weekly lately on the YouTube channel. So subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. I just wanted to get that out there because we got a lot of people hanging out and watching. So Blue Bombers on YouTube. Subscribe and like, all that good stuff. Next question is for me. I have a question. Put your thinking caps on here. A lot of people, the people that are upset, and it might be a vocal minority, it might not be. I don't know. People are absolutely entitled to their opinion. For those people that are maybe upset, what's the worst case scenario? Like, what is the worst thing that can possibly happen by these rule changes?
That's a good question. For me, to be very specific, is the last 3 minutes of games and the kicking game. Those are the two biggest ones that I think have been changed, where missed kicks and like the whole, where the field goals post are is huge. And then just how the last 3 minutes of games work with the time running compared to the dead ball play clock start. So those are going to be the two biggest ones that I think will make it look different game-wise. But I hope that's not enough to deter people from coming to games.
It's, again, without seeing anything, it's hard to say what this is going to look like or what's going to change. I mean, again, the biggest play in the win over Ottawa was Trey Vival's missed field goal return, and we're not going to see that anymore unless you make it that the netting behind that the ball goes off the netting and it's live. You can return it. I mean, that's never going to happen, but that would be,
or just a short kick or
a
something
short
like
kick.
that.
Yeah, right. And so then I brought this up on X yesterday. I wonder how teams might impact defending a field goal now. Do you even put a returner back for a short kick, or you go for a block, right?
Yeah, you might be +1 on the
right.
On the
we saw a
field goal
couple
block.
blocks in the NFL on the weekend that were game-changing plays. So maybe that's something that comes out of this. I'm with a lot of people that the one fear I have is that this leads to more Americanization down the road, and I don't think anybody wants to see that, as far as I know.
Yeah.
The game has been good, but I don't think we should be afraid to tinker with it.
Yeah.
And some of this is more than tinkering.
Yeah.
But you can't be afraid of change either.
No, I totally agree. I don't think anyone wants to see this game turn into, where the CFL becomes like a
NFL
UFL
too.
or NFL 2.0 team kind of thing. But like I said earlier, I think there's some parts of this game that are uniquely and inherently Canadian, and I really hope those don't change, because I think once those do, that'll be a clear sign that there is a move towards American football. But you got to have faith. You got to have faith that the people in the CFL offices and the board of governors are keeping this game Canadian, and I do.
Yeah. I would just say, too, that, if you come to the game and you enjoy it, and you like going to the Rum Hut, you like being with your friends, and there's 30,000 people here, we're going to sell out all the games this year, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's the experience to me. And if you're upset and you don't want to come anymore because they moved the goalposts, you're right. Mm-hmm. But it's still, again, the Banjo Bowl is still going to be the Banjo Bowl. Our arch rivals are going to be in here. The Orange Shirt game this week, Hamilton's come in with Bo Levi Mitchell. Like it's still going to be Canadian football.
I would say this too, not a slight to any players in the past, but I think the quality of player in the CFL has never been better than it has been in the recent times. So, players are getting better, bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic. It's pushing coaches to scheme better. I'd say the caliber of athlete is just so good and so exciting that the game is still incredibly exciting. You talk to people who've never watched a CFL game before, and they just say how much action there is and how dynamic offenses are and what cool things are happening on defense, especially if you can, see what the fronts are doing. So the game's still super exciting, and I still think the game's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. I mentioned the pitch clock in baseball. I just was thinking, too, about the CEBL, the Sea Bears League.
Yeah.
They have that target score
Very
thing
cool.
at the end of the game. I'm a huge basketball guy, but that changes the way you watch the game too, and
Yeah.
it's an innovation, and it's cool.
It is, yeah.
Again, sometimes
And it's
you
still
have to be open
basketball.
it. Yeah,
It's still a basketball game.
Exactly.
It looks the same. That just the ending's a little different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great points. Next question. This person is wondering, did the CFLPA have any input into the changes or the rules committee, or who were the ones that actually decided to make these changes?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the board of governors and the commissioner, and he took some people from within his staff at the office to study this. But this is what got Nathan Rourke up in arms yesterday, to his credit, and some of the people we talked to today, is that there wasn't a widespread, hey, let's bring everybody in for a meeting, and all the Bombers gather in the meeting room over there, and let's talk this out. It just, that step was skipped, if it was even going to be considered as a step.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. I mean, we definitely weren't pulled or anything at all as players. I don't think coaches were. I have no idea if coaches were or not. I honestly have no idea. But as players, who I can speak on, we definitely weren't.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this too is that there is a CFL rules committee, and Mike O'Shea is on it. And usually these things are talked about in the off season, and they're small things. They're not the major ones like this. And then they discuss things, maybe tinkering with a rule here or there. Then it's taken to the board of governors, and the board of governors either rubber stamp it or say no, we're not going to do it. Usually they just rubber stamp everything that the rules committee decides. But this wasn't done. This is done in season, so that's what's
I
interesting.
think that's another thing too. Is like, I wonder why now. You know, why was it announced now? Why not?
Another question that was brought up in the comments. People were wondering why now, when we're
a lot of
like
players
almost
were.
through the season.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just a unique timing, and not at all sure why that would happen then. So,
How are we doing? You got to get out of here right at 4. We got 3 minutes left. We've kept you for a long time.
I can go. Yeah,
We got a few more questions
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah,
to
of
if you're
course,
cool with
let's
that. Okay. This is kind of 2 comments here that, again, we've seen a lot of buzz of online. We've talked about it a little bit, Ed, but someone says, where and how are these hypothetical 60 touchdowns a year going to come from based on these rules being implemented? And more food for thought before you take that and run with that is someone else responded to that and said, there will be more touchdowns, sure, but there will also be more punts because you won't be able to go for a field goal as reliably from the 45-yard line.
yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, we kind of brought that up earlier. They talked on that video that the CFL did about the decision zone, and I'm not sure that taking 10 yards off the field and then getting into that territory, whether you decide long field goal or not, I think it's going to be more punting.
I think so too. I mean,
It's 3rd and 8. I'm not sure I'd gamble there because the other team's going to get the ball right there if you
and
don't.
with the shortened field
Shorter field.
now I think it's going to probably lead to more punting. To be honest, I mean, now you're 7 and plus 15 on field goals now, so that's going to dramatically change where you kick from, and I don't think coaches, like you said, are going to go for it on 3rd and 5 as much as, or not at all, you know, but like short yardage situations where it's probably going to lead to more punting.
And then to the other point of that question, Josh, was the more touchdowns. Obviously, they've got an analytical team that's done the homework on that said if you take the goalposts out, there's more of a window to attack the middle of the field. I don't know how they came up with 60. And again, I want to see evidence of that, but it potentially could lead to more scoring because the field is open more in the middle.
Yeah, like the field's shorter, so it's less yards to have to, you know, get, and then without an obstruction in the middle of the end zone, maybe those are the 2 points that led to that conclusion. I don't know. I'm at the point where we have to see it to know if that's actually true or not.
Yeah, I'd like to see the numbers on how many pass attempts have hit the upright over time because we mentioned the 2019 West Final. I remember covering a Bomber game against Baltimore Stallions here, the 1994 East Final, where a Matt Dunnigan pass hit the upright, and he had Joe Wilcox open in the end zone in a game that Winnipeg lost that would have sent them to the Grey Cup. So it does happen. But that's just sort of part of it was part of the game.
And that was like, it is an obstruction. It does force you to change your throwing, your throw angle, or where you space your routes out, or how you attack that space in the end zone. without that there, maybe it changes.
But we
it,
don't know.
and that's the thing, we don't know. And I wonder too if that was ever considered as, maybe it's just it was a deterrent, so that's why it wasn't, thrown there. Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah.
I think we're just gonna wrap up with one more. We just hit 4:00, and you guys have been going for an hour straight, pretty much. So thank you both. But I think we're gonna end with one more. I'm just gonna summarize a whole bunch of people's comments, and you did touch on this a little bit, but I kind of want to put a fine point on it just before we hop off here. Just a word from each of you on what you would say to all the people that are saying how I'm scared of more Americanization down the road, and this is just opening the door for more changes to come. The commissioner wouldn't guarantee not moving to 4 downs. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm worried as a fan. What would you say to those people that would maybe give them a little bit of encouragement just before we get off? I know you touched on it a little bit, but let's put a point on it just before we get off the air here.
You want to go first, Patty?
Sure, yeah. I think I kind of touched on it earlier, but I still think the soul of this game is still here, where there's still a lot of aspects of this game that are inherently Canadian football, and they haven't been changed, and I think that's what makes this game Canadian. I'm not talking about how the King game was changed, because that is huge, but I still think there's a lot of elements that are still inherently Canadian. The ratio's still there, the motion, the yard, the 12 players, the width of the field. There's a lot of aspects that are still very Canadian football, and that's what I'm hanging my hat on.
Yeah. Just to that point, when we all heard on Sunday that this press conference was happening and major changes, I think the way I went into the news conference yesterday and the way I exited was impacted by what I was fearful of.
Yeah.
And I was afraid that it was going to impact the ratio. This is the Canadian Football League, and I didn't want to see the ratio changed or 3 downs and all that stuff. So I'm with a lot of people. I'm worried about that there's another segment to this.
For sure.
But in the meantime, let's just hope that maybe this is everything that the league says it's going to turn into. Maybe that's Pollyanna here. But I'm going to look at it optimistically and hope that this leads to more scoring, that it helps the game, and that there is no 4-down plan down the road or further Americanization of this.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of live in the moment in the next couple of years and hope, cross our fingers, to be good.
Absolutely. That fear is, here's the middle. The fear is all the way on that right-hand side of it, where you're worried about all these different changes, but you're taking away from the optimistic side of things, the possibilities, the better possibilities of this. And I think if people kind of shift their perspective away from that fear, and it's hard, I totally get it, and I empathize with that, because I'm Canadian. I grew up in this game, and I love this league, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't fearful of that, or saw how people are seeing that pathway towards that. But I'm choosing to remain optimistic on the direction of this league, and excited to see the changes, and I'm very hopeful that they're going to improve this game and improve this league.
Yeah, well said.
So I got 2 more quick ones. 2 good ones came in before we end off here. One, just a really quick one. It says, Ed, do you was any of this in plan previously? 5 months doesn't seem like much time to implement these changes. Had you heard about anything before this?
Well, we do know that the commissioner he got the job because he was told the status quo doesn't work. So that's sort of a green light to look at changes. And so, and to his credit, he said yesterday that he didn't want to kind of dawdle on this stuff. He wanted to get things moving. And so I don't know what they said behind the scenes. I'm not privy to that kind of stuff, but I do know that this guy's pretty aggressive and he wants to make things happen. And we've already seen evidence of that. The guy's been on the job for 5 months. So, I guess they could have slow played this and done it one rule at a time over time. But to his credit, let's go bold. And that's why they kept framing it that way yesterday.
Okay, good point. So just, again, a couple more here. This is a really interesting comment to something that we talked about yesterday off there after the thing. Just this person's comment is, I think one of the biggest issues is that the marketing and outreach in some of the markets that are struggling is a big issue, and changing the rules isn't necessarily going to help fix that issue of marketing and outreach to potential new fans.
Yeah, that was a big point of conversation in the locker room with guys, especially Canadian guys. I think that part was probably neglected, and not that I'm some marketing guru or business economics person that understands that, but I think that still needs to be addressed in cities that need it. I think that's a huge part of this, is the presentation of the game and the outreach of the game in those bigger cities. So
100%. There's I'm hopeful that there's more to the Commissioner Johnston's plan about the marketing and promotion further down the road. The same way they've attacked this, maybe they can attack those issues, because we're spoiled here, man. This, we sell out every game.
Yeah.
We've got shows like this on our website. We've got media here coming every day.
Yeah.
It's not the same in the other markets, and that's part of why the players aren't promoted consistently across the league,
Yep.
and why the media coverage isn't consistent across the league. That's one of the big differences between the NFL and CFL, is that you can go to a game in Jacksonville, and the week leading up to that game, there's blanket coverage.
Yeah.
You go to a game in Green Bay or Dallas, of course there's blanket coverage. In this league, we've got huge media scrums every day. We've got TV shows, podcasts. Some of these other teams, they don't have that because no media shows up on a practice day, which that's on the league to promote better.
Yeah, and there's just other competition in some of those bigger cities
Big
too.
time.
They're amazing cities with, you look at Toronto with Jays, the Raptors, the Leafs. Vancouver's got,
Yep.
the Canucks. There's a lot of
soccer
things.
teams.
The soccer teams. There's lots going on in those cities, and finding a way to attract new fans is paramount. I don't see any other way around it. So they got to find a way to keep attacking that issue in those big cities, and hopefully there's someone above me that's working on that, because I sure as hell don't know what that is.
I think this is where we're going to end off on, not to end off on a negative comment, but I think this is an important question too. This person says, A, do you think season ticket renewals will drop dramatically across the league because of this? And B, if they do you think that's enough for them to recant the changes?
I guess we've had some calls upstairs where people have said they're upset enough that they want to cancel their season tickets. I'm hopeful they don't. I'm hopeful that, like Patty said, that we can be optimistic and see what the impact is on these first. But it's your right. If you want to cancel your season tickets because of this, that's your right. I'm not sure that it's going to lead to widespread drops across the league, because to Patty's point too, it's still, a lot of this is still Canadian, and a lot about coming to a Bomber game is the experience. More, you're not coming because the goalposts are at the front of the end zone.
Yeah.
Right.
No one's going to a Bomber game and be like, I cannot wait to see the goalposts at the front of that end zone.
Right.
You're going to see tremendous athletes competing against each other in high stakes games, and an amazing atmosphere, especially here at Princess Auto. So I truly hope people aren't thinking like that. I can totally understand and empathize as to why they would. They're passionate. They love this game, and they've probably been fans of this league for a long time, and they hold on to it. It's a part of who they are, and I love that about people, because I feel the same way. But I'm choosing the other side of it. I'm choosing to see it as a way to grow this game in revenue, in the style and action and all that stuff, and I'm hopeful and optimistic it's going to work out for the best.
Cool. Let's wrap up there. Tons of good questions. Great discussion. We've been on for an hour and 8 minutes, so you guys have done a great job, Pat. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you riffing on the way we changed the format too, so that we could do this all about the rules. We're not on next week, right, Josh? A bye week.
That's correct. We are not on next week, so we'll have next week off.
Yep. So join us again 2 Tuesdays from now for the next edition of the Huddle. Thanks again to the guys from Winnipeg Sports Talk for throwing their viewers over here. Thanks to our sponsors, Coors Light and Duron Equipment. And as Josh said earlier, please like and subscribe and all that stuff I'm supposed to say to get the numbers up on our YouTube channel. If you missed it, this is on our YouTube channel. I'll put include the link in my story for today, which you still have to write. So that's on bluebombers.com too. And I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks.